The question is, why are values important? Why do I need to figure out my values? The thing is, values guide our lives. And if we don't choose them consciously, we will be given values by others, or we'll choose what is most comfortable, right? We'll value security, safety, comfort, leisure. And we will fulfill those day by day and eventually turn into that person, that character. Now the question is that who you want to be? Once you figure out your values, you can also see the values you're currently living up to, which usually they're contradicting. When I was younger, I valued money and being rich, and I wanted to be famous, and I tried to chase that. But I always ended up in the wrong place, unfulfilled, bored, and everything seemed kind of stale. And eventually I said to myself, you know what, everyone's talking about values, maybe I need to sit down and figure out my values. So I did. And I Googled the list of 100 values. And then you narrow those down to 25, to 10, and then 5. What are my top 5 values? And I landed on family and health and growth and art and freedom and peace. And then you can set goals for those values. And then you can live out those values. And eventually start morphing into the person that God wanted you to be. Because I choose these values. This is what I deem to be correct and right and purposeful. And now I'm living these things out, even if it's just day by day, small piece by small piece, puzzling together my character. And now 5 years, 6 years later, looking back, I've built this life that I'm currently living, and it's not exactly where I want it to be, but it's getting really close. And I feel good, and everything I do has purpose and holds weight to it. And I know why I'm doing it, and you need to do the same. What do you value? And then set goals for that. If you value health, how can I set a tiny goal to fulfill that value? Maybe I'll read one book about health, fitness, flexibility this year. I care about art. Maybe I will draw one picture a month. Maybe I'll write a poem. Maybe I value family. What could be a goal there? Maybe I need to call my mother once a week, once a month. Write a letter to my grandfather. You see, so you have your values, and then you set tiny goals for these values. And while doing that, you sort of fulfill your character. You become who you're meant to be. Because if we don't do that, we'll just live by comfort and luxury and fulfill these useless things, We want to be warm and secure, but actually maybe you want to be spontaneous. Maybe you value the action of being courageous. But how can you fulfill that if you've never really written it down and made a goal for it? Maybe you value humor. And you can say to yourself, I value jokes and making people laugh, and that's important to me. Well, then you can set the goal of, I am going to tell one joke a week. I'm going to text it to somebody, say it to someone in person, or I'm going to read a book on jokes. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of this little checklist of becoming better, becoming who you're meant to be. So figure out your values and live by them. Build your life around them. Fulfill them day by day. And just try to be consistent. Because if we don't do that, you're just a leaf in the wind. And eventually you're going to fall in a place where you don't really want to end up. Or you'll feel empty because you chased the wrong thing. You didn't choose who you wanted to be. So, what do you value?